In your news headlines, in the last 15 years, home ownership in the Black community is declining. Here's something to remember. In 1968, Congress passed the Fair Housing Act to end discrimination across the market. Just 2 years later, in 1970, nearly 42% of Black Americans were homeowners. Now, the latest numbers from the Urban Institute data shows that number hasn't moved very much. In 2019, nearly 43% of Black people owned their own homes. Now, take a look at this chart. Between 1970 and 2019, Asians have seen growth in home ownership since the early 2000s. Hispanics, however, saw a big drop in the early 90s, but things were looking better by the mid-90s. White homeowners experienced a rise between the 70s and 80s, a drop in the 80s, but by the 90s, home ownership is going up. And Black homeowners showed a similar trend as white homeowners up until the late 90s, and then it just drops. Today in Memphis, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers talked about this and other disparities. They discussed access to credit, learning how to save when you're under-resourced, and even student loan debt. All of that can affect your ability to buy a home.
What we have here is a high poverty rate that factors into that. We have lack of resources into disinvested communities, and our Black communities as a whole are impoverished, right? So what tends to happen in that life cycle is we never have the resources available to talk about the American dream.
A very important conversation, and one Memphian says she wants to own her home because she wants to have something of her own, but to also make sure that her family is secure for years to come.
We as African Americans create wealth is by owning a home and having that equity. That equity can be used to send your children to college. It can be used to start a business.
And many Black people are thinking of other ways to build generational wealth and to pass it on. This is just one of those ways. Now, if you're having a hard time finding a home, don't get discouraged. The city of Memphis does offer some help with their down payment assistance program. The homes must be within the city limits, and the maximum amount of assistance is up to 10% of the sales price, not exceeding $10,000.